So Hocus Pocus 2 was released in 2022 and was directed by Anne Fletcher. And in this movie, two friends accidentally bring back the Sanderson sisters to modern-day Salem and must figure out how to stop the child-hungry witches from taking over. I never thought we would ever get a sequel to Hocus Pocus. I never thought we ever needed one, but after watching this one, do I still feel the same way? Well, let's talk about it. Well, starting off with the positives for Hocus Pocus 2, I loved the concept of this movie. Now, one thing I was scared about when the second movie was announced was I really thought they were just going to do a crappy rehash of the 90s film just put in 2022, but I'm glad to say I was wrong because I actually liked the fresh new ideas they brought to this movie. I'm going to keep it very vague because obviously the movie just came out, but the concept was very interesting and it actually made sense on why we got a sequel, and it added layers to already established characters and it made them more interesting. This movie is freaking hilarious, by the way. I found myself multiple times holding my stomach from laughing so hard. Like, I remember in the trailer, I couldn't help myself. I know I said I was going to go in blind, but I couldn't help myself. I watched the trailer and Mary having her broom be two Roombas was... Whoever thought of that, you are a genius and I want to give you a raise. I want to give you a personalized letter saying thank you and you deserve a raise because that was genius. I would never have thought of that. And that's the other thing why I like about this movie is one thing I loved about the 90s movie was that they were dealing with modern technology like buses and all that. But you're in 2022, that is a major difference in technology. So they go in and they start dealing with Roombas, with something so simple as the doors automatically opening for you at a Walgreens. Like, to us, that's so second nature, but for them, that is completely new, and they just made it absolutely hilarious. I just absolutely loved having the Sanderson systems, that's a mouthful, say that 4 times fast, Sanderson sisters. I loved having those characters back, such a big part of my childhood, and it was nice to see them back again. Now, the first about, 10 minutes of this movie kind of tells the origin story of the Sanderson sisters, and I gotta tell you, I didn't think I needed an origin story for them, but now I absolutely need one because I found myself during this movie, while I was enjoying myself, I was like, man, I kind of want to go back to the original younger versions of them because whoever casted them was perfect. Great job there, and it was so great. It was so inventive. I never really thought about how the Sanderson sisters became witches. Were they already witches? Did they already have powers? But the fact that we got to know how they became that way was pretty cool, and I love the relationship that they had from the beginning and how it evolved over time. Well, now let's go to the mixed aspect. The characters. No, not the Sanderson sisters. Every other character in this movie. Now, I will say, I do love Gilbert. He was a welcome addition to the cast because it was nice to see a human be kind of on the side of the witches just for a little bit. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's nice to see him go on his own journey because there's a subplot of that he has to go through that involves the witches and how they're trying to get all powerful. So I thought that was really cool. I really liked his character, and I actually wish that we saw him more. But the characters that I'm talking about are our main ones. To put it simply, they're not as great as the original characters. While I did love Becca, who was the main girl in this movie, I really liked her, every other character kind of fell flat for me. Take, for instance, there was a big subplot in this movie about how there's supposed to be 3 friends, but there's only 2 of them because the third friend is kind of doing her own thing. She's changing, she has a boyfriend, and she's not really with the crew anymore. But the fact that you're having this whole subplot and the whole journey of them becoming friends again, it just didn't work for me. I didn't care about the other characters enough to really feel that emotional punch you're supposed to feel in the movie, but that's just me. I feel like this movie was just a tad bit longer, or maybe if you focused on the characters more, on why I should care about them, maybe, but I feel like this movie had a good pacing. I mean, it was an hour and 30, about an hour and 30, hour and 40. I think that's fine. Anything longer probably would have been a problem, but I just feel like if they focused a little bit more on those 3 characters, you could have felt that emotional hit a bit more. But because we love the Sanderson sisters so much, we want to see them. So, I mean, give or take how you want it. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, I want more of the Sanderson sisters, but that's kind of sacrificing the main characters and their character development. So I'm still going to stick by that. I feel like they should have focused on the friends a bit more because we already have established characters like the Sanderson sisters. And if you want the sequel to work, you need to make these new characters be just as interesting as the ones in the original. And I just feel like besides Becca, they didn't really achieve that. Now, while I did find this movie really funny, like there were aspects of this movie that I found funnier than the original, where the original shines is that they also did not hold back when it comes to those horror elements. I mean, for God's sakes, in the first 5 minutes of the original, they actually kill a kid. They take her soul. I know they did it in like kind of PG way where you just suck the soul out and you just see her disappear. No, they straight up kidnapped and killed a child. That's where the horror elements come in, and like they still, show those terror. They still show how evil they are. But in this movie, they kind of just were ultimately really just goofballs. They were kind of treated as purely comedic characters. Even though they say, hey, I'm gonna eat you, they did it in such a comedic way that it didn't come off as scary. I really wanted those horror elements to where you still feel like these are dangerous characters that could literally kill you whenever they wanted, but I never really got that sense in this movie, and because of that, I never really felt that our main characters were ever really in danger. In the first movie, because you really felt that these characters were in danger and that time was of the essence, it made the Sanderson sisters a little bit more sinister, in my opinion. Now for the negatives. As much as I like this movie, and I do really like this movie, it is not perfect by any means. The original is way better. Now, where the original is better is that they understood that less was more. If you saw my review on the original Hocus Pocus, one thing that I appreciated was that a lot of the movie was practical effects. I can't say the same for this movie because you saw a lot of CGI cat shots, you saw a lot of CGI bird shots, the book was at one point completely CGI. It just didn't have that charm that the original movie had. I appreciate a movie going all out to try and do as many things as practical as possible, but when you look at this new movie, it almost looks too new. Like, book looks extra shiny, like Billy itself, his makeup doesn't really look as good as it did in the original movie. The settings itself, while look very nice, they look so new and sleek and shiny. It just doesn't give off that Halloween feel that the original did. Now, the biggest negative I have for this movie is that they tried to make the Sanderson sisters sympathetic. Look, I get it, this is a children's film, we all want to enjoy it, this is a big part of our childhood, but to me, I didn't like that. I didn't like that they tried to make them sympathetic, because how can you make characters that at the end of the day are trying to suck the soul out of children to remain youthful forever? I don't think you can make them sympathetic. I mean, they tried. I appreciate these characters, but I love them because they're so evil and goofy. But because in this movie they were so goofy, it just, to me, like, I just hated that they tried to make them so sympathetic about their origin story, which I did like, but they did make them sympathetic because the whole town was just horrible to them, and then at the end, something happens, I'm not going to reveal it, but something happens near the end of the movie that just makes you feel so sad, and you just feel so much sympathy for the sisters, and I hated that I felt so sad for them, because I shouldn't, because these are characters that literally kill kids and are trying to kill kids and take over the world. So I just kind of don't like the direction the movie took of us trying to feel sorry for them. Oh, I also hated the dad character. I mean, what a waste of a character. There were a lot of subplots in this movie. His subplot was by far the worst. Like, the fact that they kept cutting back to this dude. And this is not a spoiler because it's stupid. He literally, the entire movie, was just desperate for a caramel apple. That's all he wanted, was a stupid caramel apple. Like, bro, I do not care about your weird obsession about standing in this ridiculously long line for a stupid caramel apple. Like, bro, you're the mayor of the city. You're the mayor of Salem. You're telling me you can't just cut in line and say, hey, I'm the mayor, I want my damn caramel apple. I don't see why they didn't do this. That was just such a stupid subplot. I didn't find his character funny. I found him annoying. He literally had no use in this movie. There was no point of him. There was supposed to be a reason for him in this movie, and the witches were obsessed with him. But then at the last second, they're just like, nah, we'll just do something else, and it worked equally as well, if not better. So the whole point of his character was null and void. So you just wasted so much of my time dealing with this weird dude and his stupid caramel apple obsession. I hate you, movie, for that, and I hate that character. Now, guys, Hocus Pocus 2 was a welcome addition into my viewing library. I'm actually really happy I watched this movie. I went in with low expectations, and I'm happy to say that they were blown away. I really did like this movie, but it does have a lot of problems, so I am going to give it a B. I do like this movie. I like some of the characters. I like the concept a lot. I like the music. I love that the Sanderson sisters are back. You can tell that the cast just had a lot of fun making this. You can tell that they love these characters, and because you can tell they love them, you love this movie even more, so I appreciate them for that. But the fact that multiple subplots didn't work for me, and I think the other main characters besides Becca didn't really work for me. That's why I'm going to give it a B. The original is always king, but now I'm going to add Hocus Pocus 2 to my Halloween viewing collection. Now every year I will happily watch Hocus Pocus 2 with no regrets and no bad feeling. I will happily watch it, which I think I mean, this is a home run for this movie, in my opinion. I really thought this was going to be a terrible movie, but the fact that it was a good one, and I really enjoyed it, hey, that's an A+ in my book for that, but as a movie, I'm giving it a B. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.